Welcome in on a Wednesday, everybody. I'm Reed Cowan. So it is a battleground blitz as candidates fighting for the keys to the White House hold dueling appearances in the very same cities. Plus, Tropical Storm Debby doubles down, bringing a deluge. This is CBS News 24/7. Let's go. Okay, right off the top and right off of our video monitors today, Team Kamala and Team Trump looking for a win with Wisconsin voters. We're talking about dueling appearances. They're about to happen as they make their case to voters. So we have cameras fired up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, where Kamala Harris and her running mate, newly minted from Minnesota, are expected to arrive at any moment. You're seeing the large crowds there. And also former President Donald Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, literally just down the road from the Harris-Trump campaign, or the Harris campaign. We have crews following both teams and both tickets, and we start out right now with Ed O'Keefe. He is following the Harris-Walz campaign. Ed, did the announcement of Governor Walz really give Harris that bump that her campaign was hoping for?
Sounds like it, Reed. We just got word from the campaign that in the first 24 hours since he was named the running mate, the Harris-Walz campaign has now raised $36 million. That's about $1.5 million an hour since the governor of Minnesota was chosen as her number two. Another sign of the continued interest, enthusiasm, energy that Democrats are enjoying ever since Harris became the presumptive Democratic nominee, and then she picked the governor yesterday. They are coming here to western Wisconsin, this college town, to rally supporters and for a lunchtime crowd of, several hundred, if not maybe a few thousand once it's all said and done. That's an impressive haul in a town of only 5 figures, if you will, in population. It's part of an ongoing battleground state tour, as you said, that will take them tonight to Detroit. Another stop in Michigan expected tomorrow, and then they're headed west to Arizona and closer to you in Las Vegas, Nevada over the weekend as they continue this rollout. But enthusiasm, interest, approval of this decision among Democrats seems to be near universal, as they like his life story. They like the things he's accomplished as a governor and the way he ran for Congress back in the day in a part of Minnesota that now trends more towards Donald Trump.
Ed, speaking of Donald Trump and remembering the rally in Pennsylvania where that assassination attempt happened, we see that you're outside right now, large crowds, Secret Service under a microscope right now. What's the security like?
Yeah, and that was telling, Reed. We didn't realize until last night that this was going to be an outdoor event. You'll notice a few things. First of all, there's a structure there behind where she's speaking, so that gives them a little cover. There are no other major structures for several thousand yards. I could see like an industrial building very much far in the distance, probably more than half a mile away. So there's nothing else within this perimeter or just outside of it that would create the kind of concern or opportunity that existed in Butler, Pennsylvania. There was significant bag checking of reporters on their way in. The line getting in for those trying to be here also pretty long and detailed in their review of those that are here. It is outdoors as well, so, they're dealing with the heat, and there are a few people who are dealing with that. That's common at these events. But, Reed, what we're starting to see among Democrats that we hadn't seen so far this year or last year is the size. This is Obama or Bernie Sanders or Trump-sized crowds now showing up to see the ticket. Joe Biden never spoke to crowds this big, even when he was president. And so that gives you another indication of how much interest there is, especially that it's in August. We could expect this maybe in the last several weeks of the campaign, come October, anywhere they go. But the fact that you're getting this right now, in the middle of hot August, in the Midwest, at lunchtime, is something that is going to please Democrats and put the fear in local Republicans.
Ed O'Keefe, following the heat, senior news White House correspondent, thank you so much. All right, so these candidates are worlds away from each other on policy, but in Wisconsin, they are literally, and you look at this map here, only 5 miles apart. Our cameras are also trained on Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance meeting with voters at the home of U.S. manufacturer Walmart International. His first stop, though, today was in Michigan, meeting with voters at the Shelby Township Police Department. He's there because he is once again attacking Harris's policies on crime.
It is a policy choice to not prosecute people who sexually assault minors. When Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of California, she actually made it a non-violent crime to commit sex crimes with minors. Shouldn't we want to throw people who commit the most heinous crimes in our communities in prison and throw away the key? And yet Kamala Harris is making it easier for people to get out of jail after they commit heinous crimes with children? It's despicable, but it's another policy choice of Kamala Harris. And I guess my message to the American people, and certainly to all of you gathered here today, is we don't have to accept this from the federal government of the United States of America. Remember, when President Trump was in office, we deported illegal aliens. When President Trump was in office, we were building the border wall, which made it harder for illegal aliens to come here in the first place. When President Trump was president, we did not grant mass amnesty, which allowed illegal aliens to come into our communities, to harm our people, and then to stay here after the fact. We just need better leadership. It is so simple, and I can't believe that anyone would actually think that you should open up the American southern border to all of these criminals. You should let them commit crimes in our communities, and then you should refuse to deport them afterwards. And that's exactly what Kamala Harris has done.
So that is J.D. Vance speaking to voters in Michigan. His next stop, and you see it live here behind me, this is in that manufacturing plant in Wisconsin. They've got it all set up, and as soon as he takes to that podium, we'll bring it to you. Okay, so both campaigns focusing on the Midwest and the issues there for good reason. Look at this. A CBS News battleground tracker poll shows former President Trump with a 1-point lead in Wisconsin and tied with Vice President Kamala Harris in Michigan. Two crucial states to win the White House. Both are within the margin of error. All right, so now let's use this video, right? Meanwhile, Tropical Storm Debby unleashing deadly flooding across several cities in the south. Look at that. Torrential rains and powerful winds killing several power crews working overtime trying to get the lights back on. One personal story coming to us, the driver of a semi-truck that careened into a canal in Tampa. This coming to us from Hillsborough County. So, Jess, this just shows us that once the water starts to pond, it's still dangerous after the storm passes.
Oh, absolutely. Freshwater flooding is a big concern for areas like the Kiowa Island Golf Resort that you can see right behind me in South Carolina right now. Those waves are strong just in the background. We're continuing to show you live looks this morning on our live show heading into the next couple hours. Now, here's the thing. As we take a look at the map, and I'm going to turn on all of the advisories that the National Weather Service has issued. On top of all that orange you see directly below me right now, that's the heat advisories. We're keeping a very close eye, zoomed in just a little bit closer to the Carolinas, where flood advisories are still in effect, as well as tropical storm warnings and advisories stretching up that eastern shoreboard. Now, take a look behind me. Here's where the storm is currently at. We continue to keep a close eye just on the center of that storm, bringing in heavy winds along the coastline, anywhere from South Carolina stretching all the way up into Virginia now. Heavy rain continues to downpour into those communities. As we take a look at where this track is expected to lead, it continues to head north all the way into the northeast, where they've also been dealing with active storms the past few days. They're not getting too much of a break in areas like Washington, D.C., all the way up into New Jersey, as that system starts to break apart and deteriorate heading into the next 24 hours. Futurecast showing that storm perfectly lined up with West Virginia over into Pennsylvania, heading into our Friday forecast. That's just into the afternoon hours on Friday. And taking a look at the numbers, anywhere up to 12 inches is expected along those low-lying shorelines close to the Carolinas, all the way up into Virginia. Moving its way inland, we can also see areas like Pittsburgh receive close to around 3 inches within the next 72 hours. We'll have more on that system coming up in just a bit, but Reed, it has been active and it's definitely impacting everyone on the East Coast.
Right, and you're so right to punctuate the real personal stories there. So many people. In fact, let's bring to life that story where thousands right now live in Debbie's path. CBS News correspondent Manuel Bojorquez is live in Hugie, South Carolina. Manuel, you're talking about people who are looking at evacuations because of a rising creek, and I see right there at street level it's rising.
That's right. This is what used to be the street, currently part of the creek that's next to the subdivision behind us. This is a rural neighborhood, about 20 homes that are back there. People were evacuated as the water started to rise yesterday, and some have reported to us that they did get water inside of their homes. Now, for perspective and context, I do want to point out that this is the worst of the flooding that we're seeing, and the water is actually starting to recede. The problem, though, is that as the storm continues to linger just off the coast, there is a chance for continued heavy rain to come to this area once again. So that's what people are monitoring right now at this specific location. We're about 45 minutes northeast of Charleston. They're just trying to see what they can get out of their homes right now. They have been able to access their homes using high-profile vehicles. As for Charleston itself, people really woke up this morning feeling like they dodged a bullet, like the worst-case scenario did not play out. They got more than 10 inches of rain, and they still will get more, so they're still, you know, keeping up their guard. But the worst-case scenario did not happen there, at least not yet.
All right, we will continue watching it, Manuel. Thank you so much. Hey, when we come back, we're going to stamp our passport to Paris. Dana Jacobson will join us live from the Olympic Summer Games on Team USA, women's basketball, and a mad dash in the 400-meter. That's just a few minutes. Our video monitors now take us to Bangladesh after what has been a rocky week there. The Prime Minister stepped down, Parliament dissolved, and now word of the installation of an interim government headed by a Nobel Prize laureate. A lot of headlines out of Bangladesh. This follows student-led mass protests angry about police response to demonstrations. 300 killed in clashes with police. By the way, this new interim government will oversee new elections, but so far no date has been set. We have developing news about a murder for hire plot against former President Donald Trump. A Pakistani man allegedly tied to Iran, now facing charges. Documents in that case say Asif Bershant traveled to New York 4 months ago, contacting a potential business partner to round up hitmen. What Bershant did not know or count on is the fact that one of his potential business partners would alert the FBI and did.
Law enforcement officials received a tip and then reportedly used a range of tools and tactics to catch him engaging in criminal behavior. While we still don't know the level of connection this individual had with the Iranian regime itself, what is clear is that Iran has a long memory.
Iran has long vowed to retaliate against Trump and other top U.S. officials after a drone strike in 2020, killing Qasem Soleimani. Tragedy unfolding, and our video monitors bring us that footage out of China as this explosion brought down a 2-story building. This one is a tragedy for so many people in China. We understand 3 people crushed. The number of dead, the number of injured likely to go up as rescuers are able to get inside. Chinese state media right now reporting that preliminary investigations show a problem with gas lines as the likely cause to that collapse. An update now on NASA's effort to bring back the crew of SpaceX's flight test crew. The Boeing Starliner still docked at the International Space Station some 2 months after it first launched. The problem, thrusters and helium leaks. Well, now reports of more delays to bring the crew home, possibly on another spacecraft. NASA still has to assess that decision. Word today, the crew could be home no later than late September. All right, so let's talk Olympics now, where the USA has passed China for the most gold medals. Good job, Team USA. Previous games set a really high bar. Think about this. Team USA has won more than 100 medals at each of the last 5 summer games and at least 35 gold medals in every Summer Olympics since the 1976 Olympic Games in Montreal. Well, yesterday in Paris, one of the big headlines, of course, men's basketball, were the Americans. They defeated Brazil in a game that saw LeBron James, you see him right there, nursing a little wound above his eye. He got some stitches for that. That quarterfinals win sets up a semifinal showdown against Serbia. CBS Saturday Morning co-host and CBS News and sports correspondent Dana Jacobson joins us live from Paris. Dana, let's stay with basketball because Team USA's women face off against Nigeria tonight. What do we expect to see?
Well, I'm thinking you just said we're setting the bar high. How high is this? The American women as a basketball team are looking for their 8th straight Olympic gold medal. You can't say it enough. They haven't lost since Barcelona in 1992. It's forever. They've been led by their front court, Aja Wilson, Breanna Stewart, averaging over 20 points per game. And then, I forgot about this, and I saw this earlier today. Diana Taurasi, who's on the team, and we talked so much going into this, how players like Caitlin Clark weren't here, and why isn't she here? And she's the most exciting player in basketball. And they talked a lot about this being a team and what a team effort it was. A player like Diana Taurasi is now looking for her 6th straight Olympic gold medal because she has been a consistent member of this team. That consistency has led to so much of the success that they've been able to have out there. We will see more of it tonight. I would be shocked if we did not see them eventually in that gold medal game. but they've been dominant, and it's enjoyable to watch them dominate.
It's a party for sure. Also in track and field, we could see another gold medal tonight as Quincy Hall could be the favorite in the men's 400 meters. Dana, what do you think of that?
Yeah, he cruised in. We've said this, I feel like, in the 200 and 400 for both the men and women as they're doing it. He just cruised through that semifinal to get into the final. He's the #1 ranked runner going into tonight's race. He's won on that international stage, but he'll have some competition as well. The top three, really, from an American teammate in Matthew Hudson-Smith from Great Britain also, and his teammate Michael Norman. And this was thrown out, the idea that the man who's won the last three in the 400, Karani James, perhaps will surprise all in some way. But I think what we're seeing right now is the Americans finding some dominance also in track and field, and it's why we've been able to pull away in that gold medal count.
All right, what a time it is. Where else in the world but with Dana Jacobson and sports do you get a mix of sports and Parisians behind her having lunch at a cafe? Beautiful. Dana, thank you so much.
It's a slice of life here, a slice of life.
Slice of life. I'll take 2 slices of that. We appreciate you. Okay, when we come back, we're going to come back to the United States. All eyes on the Park Fire up in Northern California. Plus, we're going to be talking about a shaker down south in the southern part of that state. We're back in just a minute. All right, you got to see this. Our video monitors bring us this video out of Southern California. Watch the camera shake here in this video, just as millions of people are getting ready to go to bed. We're talking about a 5.2 earthquake hit near Bakersfield, about 2 hours outside of Los Angeles. But the shocks felt down the grapevine deep into Los Angeles County. In fact, we can tell you the initial quake hit just after 9 p.m. Pacific. It caused the lights at our CBS station in Los Angeles to shake and sway there in the studio. More than a dozen aftershocks reports, some of them topping 4 in the magnitude range. From California shakers to California fires. Let's talk about that. Let's go to Northern California and the much talked about Park Fire. Firefighters still doing battle in Butte County. That's just one of 4 counties torched by this fire. So far, 657 square miles makes the Park Fire the 4th largest fire in state history. So bottom line, if you see a firefighter, thank a firefighter, you know, because after weeks of battling this one, containment is now at 40%. And by the way, they're working at hot temperatures. The man accused of arson for starting this fire behind bars, people in that area are blaming him for leveling nearly 700 structures. Many of those structures leveled are homes and businesses. And help is on the way. Would you believe firefighters are now borrowing help from the Australians? In fact, look at that. An Aussie tanker loaned to CAL FIRE from Australia's New South Wales Rural Fire Service. And there it is, dumping that fire retardant, which will keep the fire away from those trees that are hot and dry. This is in the area of Tehama County. And it is awesome to see so many people stepping in to help. Jess, you are one of our servants in our country with the National Guard, and you've got a peek into how some of that works up there.
Absolutely. It's not only the Australians, but it's people back here in the state of California, too, that are keeping a close eye on the Park Fire and helping out how they can. My National Guard unit here in California is helping them out right now. We'll have photos of that coming up in just a bit. But better yet, let's head quickly over into the map. I want to show you what's happening for us in the state of California. Air quality alerts still in effect right now, issued by the National Weather Service all throughout the afternoon and evening hours tonight. A lot of hazy skies in states like Idaho, over into Washington and Oregon, down into the state of California. You see all that gray around me? That's those National Weather Service stations really keeping a close eye on the air quality and how that's impacting those communities. Keep in mind, this wildfire, the Park Fire, is the 4th largest in California history. Right behind me, you can see the smoke that's still billowing over into those states I just mentioned. And the reason why this is important to note, it's only about 40,000 acres away from being the 3rd largest in state history. So we continue to keep a close eye on that northeast border as it makes its way up into that region. Now the smoke will continue to impact all the states in the Pacific Northwest, matched up with some fires that are also burning currently up in Oregon. We also keep a close eye on the heat because those boots on the ground and the firefighters up in the skies, they are dealing with some excessive heat throughout the next couple days. Here's the good news, though. The Central Valley starts to cool down a little bit more as we head into our Thursday forecast. We'll have more on not only the west coast, but Reed, the East Coast too getting hit with those active storms. You can even see that color right next to you, all that green.
Right.
Flood advisories in effect right now for many communities all throughout the East.
That marks the spot. Thank you so much. And you know, Jess, we are watching the impacts of climate change on people who work outdoors, like our firefighters or like construction workers. So we looked at community solutions out of the Lone Star State of Texas, where a construction company says their workers are better off, they're safer because of a wearable technology. CBS News environmental correspondent David Schechter shows you how supervisors can now closely monitor their employees when they're out working in the sun and get them help fast.
First time I came to Dallas was June of 2008.
In Ross Daly's homeland of Scotland, summer means 60-degree temperatures.
Does being from Scotland give you a special appreciation for the risks of the heat here in Texas?
Back home, if it got to this temperature, we'd be shutting the job sites down because it's too hot.
As a construction safety officer, he uses technology to protect his workers from the heat. They wear this smartwatch.
So you have people out there who are saying, I see my body's too hot, I'm going to take a little break.
When a worker's body temperature rises above 100 degrees, the supervisor is alerted so they can help the worker avoid serious heat illness.
And you really don't know you're coming down with heat illness until the symptoms come on. Yeah, at that point, it's kind of a little bit late.
When it went off, it was a little scary to me because I didn't think anything was happening to me.
Tyler Hughes learned intervention is critical as climate change makes working outdoors in the summer even hotter.
My superintendent at the time and the safety guy there at the job site were like, hey, you need to take a break. I decided to go get myself checked out and see what was the deal.
The deal was Hughes was experiencing heat exhaustion, and on top of that, doctors discovered an underlying heart condition. Since then, he's lost 50 pounds, and he hasn't had a problem with the heat.
Did you ever think that you'd be wearing this watch that would tell you what your core body temperature was and change your life?
No, but after wearing it and learning about it more, I'm glad I made the choice to wear it.
Wearing a solution for a workplace that keeps getting hotter. David Schechter, CBS News, McKinney, Texas.
What's fascinating there out of McKinney is that more than 70% of the workers in that company, they wear that smart watch. The company floats the cost, $125 each. And when it comes to heat danger, we're talking about another sector of our workforce affected, restaurant workers. They also feel the heat. They also need help. So on CBS Evening News, Eye on America is going to show you restaurant jobs and how many benefit from new proposed heat protections. Well, it is campaign season, and Wisconsin has all the eyes and all the action today. When we come back, we'll check in on a rally by the Harris Walz team and an appearance literally down the road by the Republicans' J.D. Vance. We're back in just a minute. Video feeds taking us back to Eau Claire, Wisconsin in less than 1 hour from now. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate from Minnesota, Governor Tim Walz, will hold a campaign rally. You're seeing many of her surrogates there on the stage right now, getting the crowd amped up. And on their heels, offering a Republican counterpoint, Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance. CBS correspondent Caroline Cummings streaming with us live from outside the Harris rally right now. Set the scene for us. Tell us about the crowds. Ed O'Keefe mentioned just a little while ago that he said Joe Biden wasn't even pulling that kind of numbers.
Yeah, it's several thousand people here, and some of them I spoke with had been waiting since early this morning, around 9 a.m., and the line was quite long before they got in here. Many of the supporters I spoke with extremely excited and ready to hear what Vice President Kamala Harris has to say, and also to hear from her newly minted running mate, Governor Tim Walz, who, of course, is the governor just across the border in Minnesota.
All right, so we know the Secret Service is under a microscope right now. We see the large crowds, and we're also seeing an outdoor rally. Our minds on what happened in Pennsylvania with the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. Tell us about security to get in that venue as we see people lining up behind you.
Well, it was really robust to get in terms of getting in through multiple entry points, and Secret Service did screen everybody's bags, at least from where the media entered, and I presume the same for the general public. But security is definitely visible and comprehensive. You are correct. This is an outdoor rally. As far as I can tell, pretty remote. It's not too far from downtown Eau Claire, but into getting in here, very rural, lots of fields out here. So we can see that security is definitely visible and robust from places not just immediately in this kind of area you can see behind me of where the Vice President and Governor Walz are speaking, but also beyond that perimeter as well.
Caroline Cummings, live, our partner in CBS News Minnesota. We appreciate you so much. All right, so on the other side, Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance, he'll also be in Wisconsin offering a counterpoint. He'll be meeting with voters at the home of U.S. manufacturer Walz International. But his first stop today was meeting with voters in Michigan over at the Shelby Township Police Department. That happened this morning. And there he made the case against Kamala Harris using her record on crime. Listen.
I grew up in a community. I grew up in a place where when law enforcement wasn't able to do their job, it was the poor kids in my community, the kids who grew up like I did, who suffer the most. Because, of course, if you're wealthy, you can afford a gated community. If you're wealthy, you can afford private security. But when the police are not empowered to do their job, it is the most vulnerable people in our communities who suffer. We saw that, of course, in 2020 with the summer riots with our new vice presidential nominee on the Democratic side. Makes an interesting dynamic duo with Kamala Harris, because as he was promoting rioters and looters burning down the city of Minneapolis, Kamala Harris was helping to bail the rioters and looters out of jail. A really vicious cycle if you're living in that community, a really vicious cycle if you own one of those businesses that was burned down, and of course a very vicious cycle if you're one of the poor kids who needs law and order, who needs common sense safety, but doesn't have access to it because our government so often refuses to do its job.
All right, so J.D. Vance in Michigan there. Now he is headed to Wisconsin, where he is going to be talking to manufacturers. You see right there, they are setting the stage. That's a live picture inside the venue where J.D. Vance will continue to beat the drum against Kamala Harris and Governor Walz. And really, he's going to hold his second campaign event of the day there, and then he'll be on to several other stops, always with that strategy of following the Harris campaign wherever they go. In fact, here's our coverage from CBS Minneapolis and what they told their viewers about this stop.
Our team coverage continues now with WCCO's Jason Rantala live in that plant in Eau Claire. Jason.
Hi, Shayla. Well, a little less of a party atmosphere here, but the rally for J.D. Vance is set to start in just about an hour from now. Let's give you a look. Just a lot of media and cameras set up at the moment. Now, today, Vance's rally is at Walz International. This is an airline equipment manufacturer. The senator has responded to the Tim Walz VP pick. Vance told media yesterday the selection of Walz is a pick from the far left, essentially. Meanwhile, a new NPR PBS Marist poll shows Vance with an unfavorable rating of 43%. And a favorable rating of 34%. Now take a listen to Vance's comments that he made yesterday on Tim Walz.
This is a radical human being who comes from the far left wing of the Democrat Party. And what Kamala Harris is telling all of us by selecting Tim Walz is that she bends the knee to the far left of the Democrat Party.
And I can't wait for all of you.
Now, again, J.D. Vance is expected to speak here in the next hour. I will be here and we'll share his message to supporters on our news for later tonight, Shayla.
Right. Our Jason Rantala reporting. Thank you so much, Jason.
All right, thanks to our CBS partners at WCCO. All right, so let's jump the map to the Carolinas, where Tropical Storm Debby has turned deadly. We're learning President Joe Biden approved an emergency disaster declaration for North Carolina. That frees up money to cope with and rebound after the storm. You see people there waiting in the water trying to get home. We got this video off of our feeds from Governor Roy Cooper preparing his people to be ready.
All North Carolinians across our state need to be prepared for a deluge. More rain than most of us see in a month or even several months. The southeastern parts of our state could see as much as 15 inches, and the central parts could see up to 10 inches in some areas. The rain, combined with already saturated soil and winds, can lead to downed trees and power lines. Make sure you and your family are ready with supplies in case you lose power.
So as we cover the impacts of Debby, we are looking at all of the Carolinas. CBS News correspondent, you can hear the wind. He's in. Christian Benavides, you are live from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where we can see a lot of damage there, and we can just hear what you're in, Christian.
Yeah, Reed. Well, what happened with Debby is that it essentially went back into the Atlantic. It's re-strengthening, and it's getting ready to come back and make a second landfall. That second landfall will happen here, somewhere along South Carolina. It's believed between, or it's forecasted rather, according to the National Weather Service, potentially between Charleston and right here, Myrtle Beach, where we're located. You can see that we are getting some rain bands, although we've been getting much stronger rain bands from time to time. This is actually a bit of a weaker one compared to what we've been seeing in the past hour. I want you to also just get a look at the surf out there, just to get a sense of what the conditions are like here. We do know that Myrtle Beach does expect some flooding to take place. There is also some real concern about the potential for inland flooding. That would be in North Carolina. Earlier in the day, we were there in Lumberton, which is a city that in the past has been flooded. In 2016, it was flooded from Hurricane Matthew, 2018 from Hurricane Florence. So people up there are gearing up because after the storm goes through here, South Carolina, it is expected to get up there. You can see, again, these are the conditions that we're seeing. Not the strongest rain band that we've seen here so far by any means, but certainly we are feeling the effects from Debby, and again, waiting for that landfall. National Weather Service saying could be up to 65-mile-per-hour winds. Remember, when it made landfall in Florida, it was 80-mile-per-hour winds. That, at that point, had turned into Category 1 hurricane. But again, we're just waiting to see what will happen in the coming hours. Such a slow-moving system. We've been tracking this since Saturday. We've been reporting on it. And so again, a slow-moving system, and still more to come as it then, after going through North Carolina, heads towards the northeast, just up the eastern seaboard, really creating some rough conditions for folks who live out here. And again, a number of deaths, at least 6 deaths that have been linked to the storm so far.
Christian Benavides, braving the weather, CBS News correspondent, showing us how it's done on the stream today. Thank you so much. Let's bring in Jess right now. Jess, hope everybody's okay, but that reminds me of the Forrest Gump line, big, fat, sideways rain.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, Christian mentioned 65-mile-per-hour winds. I'm pretty convinced he was in the thick of it right there. Behind me, this is a quick live look over at Kiowa Island showing the beach. This is in South Carolina. Those waves are whipping up into our coastline, and we continue to keep a close eye all along that borderline, or that coastal area, excuse me, anywhere from Georgia all the way up into the Carolinas, where right now there's tropical storm watches and advisories that have been issued, as well as a whole bunch of flood advisories too. You can see that right there in that green color. And what's important about that green color stretches inland. Take a look right behind me. It's our inland areas that we're keeping a close eye on now too when it comes to freshwater flooding from this slow-moving storm that Christian mentioned. It has been a very slow-moving system. It swept like an S over the state of Florida, back into the Atlantic, and now it's slowly moving its way up into North Carolina as we speak, with some of the heaviest rain currently hitting just those outer bands. We continue to track this storm as it decays, moving its way inland. It's going to pick up some speed once it turns into that system of low pressure just to the north, and it's going to impact communities like from North Carolina all the way up into New Jersey and New York, causing heavy rain up there in those communities as well. This is into our Thursday and Friday forecast. Notice how it starts to kick up just a little bit more as those winds start to die down. Now, the other thing to mention, within the next 72 hours, we can see anywhere up to around 12 inches of rainfall along that coastline, but freshwater flooding continues to be a concern for those inland areas from Roanoke all the way down into Wilmington. We can see close to around 6 to 7 inches of rain just within the next few days. We keep a close eye on those communities dealing with localized flooding right now, and Reed, it has been a mess just from a tropical storm too. This isn't even a hurricane.
Right. Oh my goodness. You saw Christian out there. Just crazy. We hope everybody's okay. When we come back, our Eye in America shows politicians have an eye on young voters. Social media influencers deployed, and the question, will it work? We're back in a few. All right, our video monitors show this happening moments ago. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, arriving in Wisconsin. They're headed to a campaign rally. She's about 15 miles away from her next stop, and the next picture you will see on the stream. And in fact, let's go to that. This is where she is headed right now. These are live pictures coming up of the Harris-Walz rally in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. That will be a big deal as well. Let's just stay on the tarmac here first. Now we're going to go back to those live pictures. So this is destination after the tarmac right there, and she has a lot of surrogates getting the crowd ramped up. We understand from both of our correspondents who are standing outside that security is tight getting in, but the crowds are large. In fact, CBS News White House correspondent Ed O'Keefe told us a little while ago on the stream that the crowds were bigger than Joe Biden was getting just months ago. Now let's talk about the competitor in this, and this is also a live picture. 15 miles down the road from where Kamala Harris will appeal to voters with her newly minted running mate. The running mate for Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, is holding this event. This is inside the home of U.S. manufacturer Walz International. All day long, he's been crisscrossing the states. He started the day in Michigan, making a case against Kamala Harris and her record on crime. Now he will be talking to workers, manufacturers, and right there, they have lots of them at Walz lined up to show support for J.D. Vance, who's on the stump for Trump. All right, America, next. So as candidates fly from state to state in the race to the White House, there is a digital race to win. The battlefield is in the palm of your hand on social media. In fact, Democrats have deployed so-called influencers to win over voters, especially young voters. In today's Eye on America, Jolene Kent reveals their sophisticated and expensive tactics.
Look at the volume in this hair.
23-year-old Awasane made a name for herself dispensing beauty tips on TikTok.
I just peed in the White House.
So when she posted this video of her White House bathroom break, her 500,000 followers took notice.
I was just shocked. I was like, did you guys see that marble?
Sane, who met us in Houston, was one of a few dozen influencers invited to the White House to watch the State of the Union and meet President Biden.
He said to us, the collective presence in this room has more viewership on Gen Z than all of traditional media combined. So here's my birth control vlog.
It was this viral video she posted after the fall of Roe v. Wade
over the United States in my uterus
that initially caught the attention of a Democratic super PAC. On the right, Turning Point USA has mobilized influencers for years, raising nearly $200 million since 2020.
You realize they're coming for you guys next.
Now, Democratic organizations are flooding the creator community with cash and providing behind-the-scenes access.
Come with me to meet the President of the United States.
We just have to be working with them, and if we're not, we're missing a huge way that voters are getting information about the world.
Rob Flaherty runs digital strategy, previously in the Biden White House and now for the Harris campaign.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
He called the highly memeable Harris a massive asset as the campaign reaches out to thousands of influencers.
What kind of coaching do you give influencers acting on behalf of the Harris campaign?
Talking points, resources, base language.
While Flaherty says the Harris campaign does not pay influencers directly, CBS News found a constellation of other Democratic political organizations that do. In May, Future Forward, the super PAC supporting Harris, hosted panels like Gaming the Algorithm and how advocacy can benefit your business.
In the first 100 days of a Republican presidency under Trump, Project 2025 talks about sacking thousands of civil servants.
Last month, Sane says she was hired by Protect Our Care, a progressive advocacy group that relies on anonymous donors. She made a video warning about Trump's second-term agenda.
They almost help you script it, right?
Right, like, definitely.
She takes their talking points and puts them into her own voice, saying she always discloses when she's being paid.
What's your rate?
So a video just for a creator in my size, an average can go from $3,000 to $10,000 depending and upwards.
This is a bid by campaigns to create authenticity at a small scale.
University of Pittsburgh's Sam Woolley studies political influencers.
How can you tell what is a genuine grassroots expression of political opinion versus what's being paid for?
If you see multiple influencers spreading the same exact message, you can start to realize, some kind of coordination is going on.
Next up for Sane, the Democratic National Convention.
They just told us that if we wanted to put on our own show, that they would give us all the resources to do that.
The Democrats are rolling out the red carpet.
Definitely, and I'm glad to be on it.
The beauty influencer now applying her own filter to this presidential campaign. For Eye on America, Jolene Kent, Houston.
All right, we started this broadcast telling you that we were going to show dueling appearances by both tickets in the race to the White House. Just a moment ago, you saw Vice President Kamala Harris step off a plane in Wisconsin. Now we're bringing you this video. When we see it, you see it. This is the Republican nominee for Vice President, J.D. Vance. He just got off a plane on a tarmac there, addressing the media. He will now head to a manufacturing plant where an event will be addressing American workers. Let's listen in right now.
Wisconsin actually trying to persuade people to vote for us as opposed to just giving another scripted speech. Questions?
You did see the vice president.
I saw her car. I did not see the vice president. The windows are tinted.
Did you get to speak with her? You didn't get to speak with her?
I did not speak to her. No, I don't. I think she was trying to get the hell out of there as quickly as possible. But I did speak to a lot of the press gaggle following her.
Do you think it's effective to essentially tail her trail the rest of this week or during this week?
Well, clearly we think it's effective because we're here, right? I mean, look, there are 6 or 7 states that are going to decide the entire election. We think it's important to get out there, to talk to people, to make the best case that we can. And obviously there's an element of, especially local media is going to cover her because she's the vice president and a presumptive nominee. So we think it's important to have a counter narrative here, and importantly to drive home this point that she has been a dangerous radical. She has pursued very far left policies, from defunding the police to opening the American southern border to increasing the price of housing and groceries on Americans. This happened because of her policies, and I think it's important that the American people actually know that. And again, I really can't believe she's been the presumptive nominee for 17 days, and she hasn't taken a real question from reporters.
Did Walz return your phone call?
I'm sorry?
Did the governor return your phone call yesterday?
He actually did, but he left me a voicemail. I think I was on the plane yesterday evening when he called me back. I haven't talked to him since.
President Trump said in Atlanta over the weekend at your joint rally that you have to work hard to define Kamala Harris. Is she harder to define than President Biden?
No, I think I think Kamala Harris is easier to define because President Biden, because there's so many absurd video clips of her saying things that are totally outside the mainstream. I mean, this is not like a person where you have to guess at what she believes. She said, I wanted to defund the police. She said, I want to give Medicare to illegal aliens. She said that she wanted to decriminalize all illegal immigration, and it's on video. So defining her is not hard, but that is the work of a campaign, right? We've got 92 days to tell the truth that Donald Trump delivered peace and prosperity, the truth that Kamala Harris has delivered an open border and rising prices. It's not a hard case to make, but it's why we do what we do.
There's been some concern that some of the attacks from Donald Trump on Harris have been distracting, and there's been comments made that Republicans should focus on things like immigration and crime and the border. I'm curious what you say to critics who are worried that Trump is sort of getting out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody who could listen to President Trump over the last couple of weeks and say that he's not talking about immigration or crime or the fact that Kamala Harris's policies led to rising inflation. He's talking about all that stuff, but one of the reasons why he's been both an effective president but a guy that a lot of Americans identify with is, yeah, he's going to tell some jokes. He's going to mix it up from time to time. He's not going to be a boring staid American politician. He's going to be who he actually is, and I think that's the source of the success. But look, if you listen to what President Trump is saying, he is really prosecuting the case on Kamala Harris led to the open border. Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote that led to skyrocketing inflation. Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote that led to higher interest rates. She's done all of these things, and I think President Trump's been very on message, not just the past couple of weeks, the past couple of years.
I'm going to ask you about your law and order message this morning, but just to follow up, what was the message from Walz on enforcement? What was the message from Governor Walz?
Oh, I see. Well, no, I called him to congratulate him either yesterday or the day before. Sorry, time's moving.
Yeah. But he called you
yesterday, and then he just called me back. Yeah.
Did he leave a message?
Yeah, it was just, hey, thanks for calling. Appreciate it. Look forward to the debate, etc.
This morning you were talking about law and order, the policy decisions. I wanted to ask you about some comments you made a couple of years ago about...
All right, you are listening in to J.D. Vance, Republican nominee for vice president, stumping for Trump there in Wisconsin. He is on the heels of Kamala Harris and Governor Walz. We will continue watching these rallies and also watching the weather. This live picture out of South Carolina as Debbie bears down.